Now let me see if we gonna go live right now. Y'all let me know. Y'all bear with me, man. I'm trying to get it right. We live on Bigo, we live on TikTok, and I'm trying to go live on YouTube. I was in my bed, man. But I said, man, let me get up, man. And okay, I see it's working. All right, there we go. 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 Back on. Back on. Go. Super Dave, what up? PG Beast, what up? Ace Trap Goon, what's poppin'? What poppin'? Y'all get them likes up, man. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, man. Still on fire. Ain't cool off yet. So listen, y'all. As promised, I said I was gonna start my series to the AutoThugOgraphy of Turk. You know, um, a lot of people be telling stories, but can't nobody tell your story the way you can tell your story. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of lies out there about things when it's pertaining to me. You feel me? So I was waiting, but I say, man, stop waiting, man, and start telling your own story, bro. You feel me? So without further ado, man, we gonna go straight from my book that I wrote while I was in prison. You know what I'm saying? The AutoThugOgraphy of Turk. And we just gonna get straight into it, man. And I'm a read from the synopsis, not a forward of my partner, um, T Mac, right? T Mac was my partner that I met in the feds, you know, when I got to the feds. And homie was Pin Game was sick with them books, movies, and all kind of scripts that he was writing. He actually had a book that he was writing called In Jail with a Rapper. And that rapper was T.I., you know what I'm saying? And the contents that he had in that book, man, I told him, you know, cause I rock with Tip, you feel me? I told him, man, you know, man, I ain't gonna drop that book, you know what I'm saying? Let's work on my book, you feel me? And he agreed not to drop that book, you feel me? And we started working on my book, which is the AutoThugOgraphy of Turk. So when years passed and I came home, you know, I got with Wahida Clark. You know what I'm saying? As you can see on this book is Wahida Clark. Now, I thought Wahida Clark was, you know, a straight up female because I think she'd have been through the struggle. And plus, at the time, she was with Cash Money Content. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like I was a fan of her music. I mean, a fan of her books. So I felt it only right, you know what I'm saying? Let me go ahead on and rock out with her. So bam, I did a little situation with her, which didn't work out. You know, that relationship was over fast, you know, and I ain't gonna get in details about, you know, what happened because she a female, you know what I'm saying? But that relationship ain't work. That business relationship didn't work, you know what I'm saying? So I decided to put my book out through my own publishing company. And she gave me a little hassle, man. But me and my wife, you know, thank God for her, we figured it out. And I was able to put it out through Lulu.com, which is an independent book distributing company. Shout out to Pimpin' Ken. Pimpin' Ken put me on that independent game, you know, and he showed me where I could make $1 million selling my book myself, you know what I'm saying? So that was a blessing right there, man, you know what I'm saying? And I'm grateful for that, man, because in the pandemic, man, I was able to make $600,000 selling my books. I sold 20,000 at $30. You know what I'm saying? So, and that money comes straight to me. You know what I'm talking about? So, of course, man, people haven't been reading like that in a minute since we've been back outside. But there's always other ways to get your book out. You know what I'm saying? Like YouTube. A lot of people don't know about YouTube. You just gotta be creative with it. TikTok, all these different social media platforms where you can get your books out, your movies out, your sitcoms, your series. Like you just gotta be creative, man. So I came up with an idea of how I was gonna run it, right? And as of the night, man, we about to start it. You know what I'm saying? And we gonna start it off. Well, like I said, with the forward, man, Turk with Terrence T. Mac McClurge, the AutoThugOgraphy of Turk. For the sake of not boring readers, I'll simply say that it was already written that Turk and I would meet, and we did. During the first week of September 2011 at Forest City Low Federal Prison in Arkansas. Although I'm a Chicago native, I've been in the federal prison system for 13 years. Turk is from New Orleans and he did 8 years in the state of Tennessee before being shipped to the feds. Both of us were official street niggas, so game recognized itself. As I prepared this forward on November 14th, 2011, we were only halfway through the manuscript, but already we'd agreed that the foundation flowed forward with God's speed. Our spirits were blessed in a very short period to have found compatibility enough to create the necessary level of comfort for Turk to revisit and be open about certain painful episodes in his young life that most would avoid. After listening to some of this young man's painful experiences, I'm 100% sure that Turk's life testimony, once captured and presented to the world, will go on to be a huge success. And not in a simple sense of monetary compensation, but more importantly, because of the impact his example of fate rewarded, no matter how powerful the vice of opposition will have on readers. Through our many conversations and notes taken, I've already seen in Turk my own struggles, blindsided by Heron's powerful grip and unable to ask for necessary help, then being forced to call on God again and again. In God's eyes and ears, enough was enough. Turk's life and testimony through his autothugnography are exactly what our world full of wars, political corruption, and economic crisis needs and can never have enough of. Again, I'd like to thank Mr. Young and Thuggin for a real spiritual experience. So, that's my guy giving a forward, you know, that way you hear from somebody else other than me, you know what I'm saying, that the content in this book was basically, from my recollection as I remember it. And of course, I'm still in prison, so I ain't want to go too much in detail. That what part two gonna come in at of my book, you know what I'm saying? Now that I'm out, and I done got to see certain things and a whole lot of other things then came to my mind. I will have a part two of the AutoThugOgraphy of Turk, but I'm gonna give it to you as I read, as I gave it to him in the penitentiary. The Mamine Project, aka the Melf. That's where I was born at, y'all. If you know about the Melf, you know what I'm saying? They were officially known as Gustavo Apartments and cover roughly 10 city blocks. South Robinson Street, Clio Street, Simon Boulevard Avenue, and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, formerly the Melfamine Avenue. The land, once made up of a single and multi-family houses, was declared as slums by the city during the late 1950s. This negative declaration gave way to the construction of the Mamine Project, with its 4 3-story buildings and 2 4-story buildings for families and high rise for the elderly. During the late 1980s and 1990s, the Melf became one of the most dangerous housing projects in uptown New Orleans. In 2002, renovations were made to the high rise. 2 years later, 3 of the 6 low rise buildings were demolished after they failed the housing authorities' economic vitality guidelines. It is interesting to note that the Mamine Project were one of the few buildings that survived the wrath of Hurricane Katrina. It suffered minimal wind damage and no flooding. So as y'all might not know, before I went to the Magnolia, I gave y'all a little of the Melf and what the Melf was because that really where I was born. Of course, at Charity Hospital, but my mom and daddy was from the Melf, so that's where it started from. You know what I'm saying? And at 5 years old, I wound up moving to the Magnolia. So I was born in the Melf, but I was raised in the Magnolia. Everything that I learned Everything that I went through was strictly to know you, but I had ties to the mouth, so I was able to go from the know you to the mouth, even when it was beef. You know what I'm saying? And a little ties to the Calio, but mostly the mouth and the Magnolia. You know, I was able to go back and forward. You feel me? Chapter 1, My Genesis, 1981. Understanding is what shows and proves the completion of knowledge and wisdom, man, woman, and child. Understanding is a clear mental picture. It is the original child, which is the star, supreme mat number 3. Life in the project was my only reality. My mom and pops both were from the Mamine, the Melf Housing Project in New Orleans, Louisiana. My mama Pamela, aka Noonie, was the second to the oldest of Grandma Evelyn's 4 children. Auntie Deborah was the oldest. Auntie Kim was the youngest of the 3 girls, and Uncle Floyd was the baby of the family. Coming up, Noonie felt rejected by my grandmother, who seemed to favor Noonie's older siblings. Although Mama possessed a natural passion for school and was receiving a good education, the feeling of being an outsider, even within her own home, caused her eyes to wander within the projects. She was attempting to fill a void that she believed the loving household should have provided. Coming up in the late 70s, early 80s era in New Orleans, searching for love in the Melf Project could have proven disastrous for a cutie pie of Nooney's age, but she was no fool. Being raised in the project would tend to arm even the most innocent ones with a survival kit, and Noonie possessed the wits of a woman double her 16 years of age. The average troublemaking juvenile seemed to turn off to Noonie. No matter how much in abundance they were throughout the mouth, she also quietly decided that besides being physically attractive, the other qualification that any potential boyfriend must have was a job. She figured if her boyfriend had a job, then he would have very little time to run around the project like many other guys she witnessed doing so daily and despised. Noonan proceeded to analyze and observe the boys available around the mouth who were her age, which was in direct defiance of Grandma Evelyn's strictest principles. There wasn't going to be any dating boys while any of her teenage daughters resided under her roof. On my paternal side, Tab, aka Tad Virgil, was Grandma Bertha's third oldest son of 7 boys, but she had 10 children in all, from oldest to youngest. That was Charles, Wesley, Tab, Jake, Clifton, Jerome, Calvin, the baby boy, aka Black Boy, and 3 girls, Pamela, Malene, and Ronnie, who was the youngest of the girls. The Virgils lived in the same section of the Melf on Rattle Street, which was considered the good side. Noonie and her family stayed on Clio Street, right across the courtway. Thalia Street and Martin Luther King Boulevard, located on the other side of the projects, were considered the bad side. Killing and hustling were in heavy rotation there, the kind of activities that Virgil's baby brother Black Boy seemed to be naturally attracted to. Ever since I can remember, Black Boy was always hustling to support Grandma Bertha's side of my family. He was passing out 20 and $50 bills to us before we even knew what money was. And I guess you could say that even street hustlers have principles, because Black Boy never hustled on the good side, only on the bad side of the mouth. Living across the courtway from Noonie, Tad was caught by her eyes. And with his gift of cooking, Tad easily found employment in a New Orleans restaurant saturated area, making him stand out to Noonie. And if that wasn't qualification enough, he was also 1/4 of an up and coming street doo-wop group that performed melodies without instruments on a local level. Noonie and Tad secretly dated for the sake of Grandma Evelyn's opposition, but before long, they figured their feelings for each other were genuine and publicly announced their love and relationship. The 80s were crazy, and the country was so colorful and active. Even inside New Orleans ghettos, a young Tad had no time to waste on getting high or drunk. His life was bubbling with ambition and vitality. But when Noonan suddenly announced that she was pregnant, his attitude toward drinking compromised. See, in order to get to where a person is and understanding of a person, I feel like I tap into things where people be scared to tap into their true self or who they really are. You know what I'm saying? And my life is a movie, man. Like I wrote a book, but I also have a documentary. I also have a movie, you know, and I moved to Atlanta basically in search of Tyler Perry. I feel like Tyler Perry gonna be the one who gonna direct my movie, you know. And after watching his documentary, I'm more than like 80% close to him than I thought. You know, I moved to Atlanta just for that. Same way how he moved to Atlanta to pursue his dream and his what his mama told him to stop. I came from Memphis after I got out of jail to Atlanta when I heard Tyler Perry was here to present him with my movie, my screenplay, and I believe he gonna love it. You know what I'm saying? So remember I told y'all that. To this day, nobody but Tad knows for sure why he turned to alcohol. Maybe it was the heaviness of the responsibilities of fatherhood. Who knows? But one thing is for sure, young Tad never ducked or denied the birth of his son and his responsibilities, even with drinking now becoming a permanent part of his life. In New Orleans at Charity Hospital on the 8th day of February in the 1981st year of our Lord, an 18-year-old Noonan gave birth to a healthy baby boy. I was given Tad's full name, making me Tad Virgil Jr. As my mother and father's first child, my birth affected both families from the Mamine Project, drawing them closer. Early in Noonan and Tad's relationship, the Virgil family quickly embraced Noonan, especially Tad's sister Pamela, who shared the same first name with her. Having the same name, it seemed only right that they become closer than any of the other siblings. But after my birth, Mama was now officially a member of the already huge Virgil family. To both sides of the family, I, Tab Jr., was now just as important as baby Jesus of Nazareth, some 2,000 plus years ago. My birth also helped completely break Grandma Evelyn, who was enjoying her second grandchild just 1 year after her oldest girl, Deborah, had given birth to a little girl, Neosha, aka Buki. We both, with both grandmothers only a short court away, walk away, a game of tug of war had begun. But instead of rope, the two grannies pulled me back and forth. My first few years of life were perfect as life in a mouth project could be for a family. Unfortunately, Taz's drinking had picked up momentum. He had he even had a best friend named Sean that he now dubbed as his drinking partner. Sean was also Boogie's father. None of this deterred Tad from being a father to me. As a matter of fact, it was during this period when Pops had never known a sober day that our relationship intensified. So much so that I had become spoiled. In an attempt to break me from my spoiled, rotten conditions, Tad abandoned me on the city bus. I was only 4 years old, and Pops was also intoxicated. We were riding the bus down Canal Street en route to the Lowe's Theater located on the strip. Suddenly, the bus came to a halt at a stop, and Tad made his exit without me. Panic struck my stunned face and sent my heart thumping harder and faster. Daddy, I cried and stood up. Daddy! The bus continued toward its next scheduled stop, and I watched my pops pass by me in a flash. Because I was by myself, the 2 minute ride seemed more like an eternity. For the first time in my life, I experienced the shock of being without the only comfort and protection I know. At the next stop, as planned by Tad and the bus driver, a friend he'd known for years, he re-entered the bus to find me with my face wet with tears. Yet I was quiet, as if trying to figure out what had just happened. And perhaps actual value of effect of the bus incident on my little developing mind would never be made completely known. But for an intoxicated Tad, he was satisfied. I do, however, believe the entire plot by my father was for toughening me up. Eventually, we did make it to the movies, but I was glad as hell to get back home to the Noya, to the mouth. For anybody not familiar with being raised in the project, this may of course sound ridiculous, but straight up and down like 6 o'clock, I could have imagined having more fun coming up anywhere else. I had both of my grandmas only a court way away walk from each other. Right there in one project, I had 7 uncles, 5 aunts, my grandpa Johnny, who was Grandma Evelyn's husband, and was seen like 1,000 cousins. To me, Grandma Evelyn was never the woman that Mama described as a woman that raised her. I always figured Mama tales of being black sheep were a bit exaggerated. Grandma Evelyn spoiled my cousin Book and me, who I was closest to. Book and I did everything together. We even attended the same nursery just down the street from the mouth called St. John. My two grannies, Grandma Evelyn was a better cook and used to make the best brown gravy and rice, corn and turkey necks. Grandma Bertha cooking would always be all gummy and hard. She gonna kill me for saying this. My dad and uncles had all been raised on her cooking, and they were all very well acquainted with her good and bad meals. No wonder they would volunteer to cook or help when one of her bad meals were on the way. There were so many mouths to feed at Grandma Bertha's house that she used to place the bowls on the stove with our names on them. Now that was ghetto living. One 4th of July, as I watched from across the courtway at Grandma Evelyn's, all my cousins were at Grandma Bertha's having fun popping firecrackers. For some unknown reason, Grandma Evelyn would let me go over there. Boy, was I mad. I grew even more furious when my father took the fireworks he gave me and let my cousins have them. I guess the merging of both sides of the family caused by my birth had weakened over the years. There was a disconnect that seemed to be rooted in my mother. While growing up, she felt as if her mom had overlooked her in the favor of her siblings. 9 years later, I was suffering because of generational drama. That's chapter one, y'all. My Genesis. Um, of course, can't put everything in the book. You gotta leave room for imagination, leave room for questions. How I wrote my book, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, sort of like the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament, right? So being locked up, that's how my mind was going. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to put everything here. I don't want to put everything now. I want to put everything now, but I'm going to put it all in three different places: my book, my documentary, and my movie. You feel me? What you don't get in the book, you get in the documentary. What you don't get in the documentary, you get in the movie, but you going to get the answer because I'm the truth. So that's basically the marketing strategy of it. The AutoThugOgraphy of Turk, which is an autobiography of my life. 52 Bullets, which is a documentary. That's how many times the police shot at me on January 26, 2004. And Reckless is the name of my movie, which is the way that I was living. And, it's gonna bring it all together, man, where y'all understand, And the album that I'm dropping is called Joseph. You feel me? Because Joseph went through a whole lot of things. And at the end of the day, he was like, God, devil meant it for bad, God meant it for good. You feel me? So that's basically where my life at, man. You know what I'm saying? And things don't happen to me, it happened for me. A whole lot of stuff that go on. At first I wasn't understanding it, but now I see, you know, telling my stories, going on interviews, being ahead of the game. I always been ahead of the game. God sent me ahead to make room for others. Now I understand this, right? And I don't try to take no credit for it, but a lot of things that people was mad about was things that they didn't understand. Like far as telling stories. Not everybody telling stories. People who would get mad, man, you talking too much. Didn't know one day that they was gonna be telling a story too. See, people get mad at you for doing something that they really wish they was doing. You feel me? Sometimes God will put certain people ahead of other people and they wouldn't understand what's going on until now they doing the same thing. But the difference from me telling my story is a testimony. I'm not making up stories to make myself look good because I'm talking about things that really was bad for me, but now look how I overcame it. You feel me? And that's what it's all about, man. People being here glorifying their stories and they wind up getting indicted. You know what I'm saying? We ain't doing none of that. My stories is for to help people who probably going through the same stuff that I overcame. You feel me? So that's what it is, man. Y'all make sure y'all stay tapped in, stay tuned in. That was chapter 1, my Genesis. You know, we gonna get through all the chapters, you know, and make sure y'all subscribe, make sure y'all hit that like, make sure y'all comment, you know, and that's how we coming, man. Until next time, y'all already know what it is. Still on fire.